Hi guys, welcome to Reality with T. I have missed you guys. Let me tell you, I'm a little under the weather, but I do not have COVID. I tested negative for COVID, but you can still hear it in my throat a little bit. The kids have been kicking our asses. We have just been busy running around. There's something going on every day between the doctor's appointments, the dance classes, the ninja class, all this class, right? So I haven't been able to really sit down and carve out a time to record like I used to. When I was recording 2 or 3 times a week and all them videos, it was because I was on maternity leave and it was the summertime. So now I'm working full time. I have the kids, I've been under the weather. My face is breaking out. I really haven't been able to find a time and feel comfortable to just, sit down. And the shows are now 2 to 3 hours long. So it's like, I don't even have time to sit down and watch my shows all the way through. So I am going to do a video today on Married at First Sight season 12, but I do not have my usual notes, and I know we're 3 episodes in, but I'm just going to be talking and giving my impressions on all the couples and all the stuff that stood out on me. And, follow me as best you can, because I'm always jumping around, but I do have thoughts on this season. And I'm also going to do 90 Day Fiance. So either way, leave me comments. Let me know what you think. Let me start with the first couple, because I'm going to leave the most outrageous couple for last, okay? I think you guys know who I'm talking about. I have a lot of thoughts on them, right? So I'm going to go through the other couples really, really quickly. Let me start with Ryan and... Sorry, we got disconnected. We have Ryan and Clara. So Ryan his family is Creole. They're from New Orleans, but I don't know where they moved to. Wherever they moved, it seems like they're in a rural type of area, maybe suburban, but there are pretty much no black people around. And though the whole family is black, he has no black friends. Seems like he never had a black girlfriend. He talks about in the past always being with white girlfriends and they were good to him. So I'm guessing when he did his little Married at First Sight, the questionnaire, that's what he said he wanted. So he is matched with Clara, who is a flight attendant, and she seems to be very extroverted, outgoing, very free-spirited. I would say free-spirited to the max, to the point where she's kind of like almost like all over the place, loosey-goosey type of thing. I do like her personality. I think she's hilarious. I think she's a sweet girl. But I'm going to see how this works with him, because he seems to be a little bit more introverted, and it seems to me like he kind of shuts down. So when they initially saw each other and they started talking at the wedding and she started just he was kind of looking like, okay, when is this going to end? Because I think she can come off as being very superficial, but I do think that there's more to her. But it's going to be interesting to see how this works. When she talks about what she wanted in a man, I think she used the word like she wanted somebody with some flavor and maybe like racially ambiguous. And to me, anytime they say they want some flavor, that means that they want a black man. So number one, I'm questioning, is she fetishizing black men? She talked about, how she's been dating all these guys. She seems to be jumping relationship, looking for a man or whatever it is she's looking for, but they seem to go very quickly, because I believe she was online and she told a story about she hooked up with the guy, and then I guess a little while later he hit her up and said he would pay her $100 if he could date her friend. And the way she said it was kind of like, these type of situations were happening to her all year. And I don't know, I just think she get down. I think she get down. Okay. And also my fiance works he's been working in the airport, in the airlines for years. And he's told me stories, and I'm not going to stereotype, but there is a stereotype about flight attendants. I do have friends and family members who are flight attendants, so I do not mean to offend. But from what I understand, because they're always up in the air and they're here and there and they're usually single, they do what they got to do. They handle their business. So she seems to kind of fit that mold a little bit. So hopefully it seems like she's trying to settle down, and we'll see how her and Ryan get along. They might be good for each other, but it always kind of throws me off when I find black men who are only friends with white people and only date white people. They're a little bit off. It's something that's going to be going on here. Is it a self-esteem thing? It's interesting that she said, I don't want anybody who, I like confidence. I don't want anybody who has insecurities. Well, everybody has insecurities, but I want to see the extent of his. It's interesting. What is very interesting about him and throws me off is that hair pattern, because on the top it's like he has a silk press, slick back, it's straight hair, right? But then on the sides we have kinky hair. I'm trying to figure out, what is this about? Why not just shave it off or wear yourself a low Caesar type of a thing? I'm trying to get that hair pattern together in my head. When you see his brother wears his hair curly on top, on the side, whatever. His brother's good looking. I feel like, why do I feel like the brother dates black women? But I don't know. We're going to see how this goes. Then we have, and I don't know everybody's name either, because remember, I was going from the top of my head and I don't have a good memory. So then we have the 38-year-old man and a 26-year-old woman. Now, it's already throwing me off, the age gap. And then it's throwing me off. They usually don't have people on Married at First Sight that are so old. And 38 isn't old because I'm 38, but I'm just saying they never really go to that age group. So it's interesting that they would find these two together and have such an age gap. I believe he is the one that is he's kind of quirky, kind of like Bennett, but not as outrageous, and it's not as visible. He doesn't present himself that way, but then when you go to his house, I think he has all this stuff from the 70s. He has like gadgets and toys, and he's like a collector of like weird things, and he's kind of nerdy. So we'll see how this goes, but it always throws me off, when you're almost 40 and you're doing this type of thing, like what's going on? Like you had to have been around for a while, you know what I mean? Like, why is it that you haven't settled down yet? That's just a question for me, for men. Now the girl is 26. She seems very sweet. She's pretty. She seems a little, I know that she likes to party. She likes to drink. It seems that he's on the other end of the spectrum, where I believe he's the one that keeps talking about how he's like very conservative. My family's traditional, conservative, Caucasian, whatever it is, right? And it's like, okay, we get it, you're conservative, and we get that she is not. So we're going to see how this goes. But it seems like they have an initial connection, and it seems that she's into him, at least from the first few moments of them meeting. What I didn't like was her makeup. I didn't understand why the blue or the purple on her eyes was so heavy, and there was like nothing else on the rest of her face. And then her hair didn't seem to be done. It looked stringy. It looked like to me, she didn't look dressed for a wedding. It looked like she was like walking through a park. So to me, she already looked disheveled by the time they had already walked down the aisle. So now she's drinking at the reception and everything. I don't know. She just looked kind of wild. She looked kind of wild to me. And I feel like he was kind of looking at her that way. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. Sorry, I had to drink some tea. I sound a little bit better now. But what is also hard about doing these videos is that I don't really have equipment yet. So I do this on my laptop. So aside from having the kids out of earshot of me, I also need a place to do it. So right now, my fiance is not using his art table because he's out of town. So I'm using the art table, and I'm able to put up this wrinkled backdrop, right? Because I live in a New York City apartment, and it's small, and I keep a lot of junk around. So every view that I do is usually something behind me. So that's why I'm either in the kids' room, but they're sleeping right now, or I'm here at the art table. But I am redoing my bedroom, so hopefully I'll have a space and I'll get some equipment, and lighting will be better, because that's what I have no time to set up this, like the lamps and the this and the that, and try to get at least some decent lighting and some space. But either way, I digress. All right, so next we have Brianna and Vincent. Okay, this is another black couple, and I think Brianna is gorgeous. Her skin is amazing. She's a dark-skinned woman, but her skin is clear. Like, that's what we strive for. Honestly, I think the skin on my body is clear, but my face always goes through some changes, and right now it's showing out. It's showing out right now. But her skin is immaculate. She is glowing. There's no discoloration. There's no shading. It's all one tone. I mean, it's just, her skin is amazing. The whole time I'm looking at her, like, she is beautiful. She wears her hair natural. Her natural hairstyles are beautiful. Vincent is, I believe he's Dominican or Puerto Rican, but and remember, this is all taking place in Atlanta this season. So he is a car broker, and I guess he's an entrepreneur, and she, I believe, is an engineer. So they're both doing well. His concern was that she would not be into him because he doesn't have a degree, but he is doing well as far as his business is concerned. And I feel like people need to start opening. We need to start opening up more. Trust me, I'm a big proponent of college. Sending everybody that's able to go, send them to college. I always said I wanted to date somebody who has a degree, and I do. You know what I mean? Me and my fiance both graduated from the same college. I've always been into you need to have at least a bachelor's degree, blah blah blah. But now, as times are changing, I'm seeing that there are other avenues that people can take. There are other ways they can go, and they could be a lot of people are way more successful than I am, and they don't have a degree. So I think that he found one of those pathways, and then I was happy to see that when he told her what he does at the wedding, she was completely fine with it. So I am so excited about them. They might be our next Woody and Amani, as one of my coworkers said today, because they had the instant connection. They are evenly yoked to an extent. I believe that is so important that people are evenly yoked, meaning that you're making around the same amount. She wants somebody who makes some more than her. We don't know what he makes, but that's what she wants. And I know why she wants that. She wants that because she doesn't want that to be an issue in their relationship. She probably is very successful as an engineer. So now if she meets somebody who makes significantly lower than what she's making, you kind of already anticipate that might be an issue, because for some reason guys find that makes them feel insecure because the woman is running the household or what have you. So you usually want somebody who is making around what you're making, or has the potential to make around what you're making, so that it isn't a long-standing issue in your relationship. So I understand why she said that, but she was very open to his job. She said she was proud of him, whatever it is. He is going to, one thing that she said is that she doesn't cook. She's a pescatarian, and she cooks to live. And I say the same thing. And when we say that, that means that we really can't cook that well, or we don't enjoy cooking. I don't enjoy cooking. I cook because I have to eat and I have to feed my kids or what have you. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, they put love in the dish and da 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 da. And I don't, those people that they want to cook for you. They want to see you taste their food. They want to make sure that you enjoy their food. Luckily, my fiance is one of those people. I am not. So when she says that, I think he already got the nudge, like, and he's a Dominican man. A lot of Dominican women, they like to cook, and they can cook well. And they always say, if you don't put love in it, it doesn't taste good. He kind of got from her, like, okay, she's not going to cook for me. But then he said, well, we can cook together. You know what I mean? So he is trying to meet her halfway. He's going to be teaching her bachata and all of the dances that he knows, and she's open to that. So I think that this has a lot of potential. Now we have, and it wasn't her father. I think it was her father, that he looked like he was going to cry the entire time. And I understood it, because he was kind of like, probably like, and I don't remember the conversations with him, but I feel like that was her dad, where I could see his face, and he's probably just like, I don't agree with this process. You feel like when you're going to walk your daughter down the aisle, that you at least know who you're, giving her to, who you're giving her away to. Imagine him doing this, and you have no idea where this guy comes from, who his people are, what type of guy he is, anything. You know what I mean? And you're just hoping, you're going with it because this is what she wants. So I just felt for the dad when I was looking at all of in his face. I was like, oh my God, I know this must be hard. And then we have another couple, and I don't remember any name. And they really don't stand out to me. The only thing I remember about them is that one is really smiley. I believe he's a pilot. And he made me laugh because the way he laughs is infectious, and because his whole face laughs and smiles when he's happy. And he was just like giggling and the whole thing. And that's the only thing I remember about them. So good luck. I don't know. Maybe more will come up about them. We'll talk about them later. Now, the grand finale. Okay. We have, what's his name? Chris and Paige. Okay. Paige forgot her job, but I know she does well for herself. Chris, I believe he comes from a family of pastors. Now, my friend and I were going back and forth about this. I thought he said he moved to Miami for some time to be a pastor. He was homeless. He wasn't making money as a pastor. So he came to Atlanta to try to, I think he works in finance or business, and he might have he's franchised a business, and now he's doing very, very, very well for himself. Again, this is my opinion, but I feel like when these young guys go into, they become men of the cloth, There is something a little bit off about him. And maybe this is not the reason, but there is something very off about this man, Chris. Okay? Number one, he talks so much, he's very superficial, talks so much about looks and, if she look this way, if she don't look this way, and blah, blah, blah. And it turned me off. It was so apparent so early. I was like, okay, his intentions are skewed. He reminded me of a Michael very early on. And Michael was a damn scam artist, if you guys remember. He was lying about how much he made. He made a fake pay stub and all this. The lengths that he went to lie on national TV was scary. And this man reminds me of him. Something is going to come out about him. And I don't know what it is, but he's already showing himself as a douchebag, right? So the whole thing was, first we meet his grandparents, and they've been together for a very long time. And one thing his grandmother said was that, you don't want to think about beauty, outer beauty. Beauty fades. It's what's going on the inside that counts. But how did he become so superficial? We don't know. But to me, it's given off very insecure. He talked a lot about how much he made and how successful he is and the whole thing. And to me, it's just one of those. He said, and then at one point in the wedding, he said, I used to have an ego, but now I don't. Yes, sir, you do. But you're coming off to me as very insecure, not very self-aware. And those type of guys are the guys that I would like to stay away from, because all you're doing is trumping yourself up and you're thinking that you're something that you're not. And who the hell are you to even talk about what type of look somebody else should have when you look the way you do? Because he's not anybody who would get a second glance from me. Okay. So that takes me to the part where he kept saying, okay, everybody is going to worry about what if I'm not attracted to the person that walks up the aisle. But the fact that he's like, well, I hope she's not ugly. Then we realize that he gets that from his father, because his father said at the wedding, before the woman came out, saying, I forgot how he said it, but either way, it came out of his mouth, I hope she's not ugly. Who are these people to call anybody ugly? I have a personal issue with the word ugly, calling anybody ugly. I don't know if I've ever been called ugly in my life, but I never would have thought to, first of all, it's so hurtful. Who are you to call anybody ugly? Everybody has something beautiful about them. There are different types of beauty. People have different types of beauty. You could be ugly on the outside, ugly on the outside, and a beautiful person on the inside, and vice versa. Who are you to judge or even say that type of word to or about anybody? Like, it just always turned me off. I just feel like the people that use that word are very uncaring. They're cruel. It's rude. It's and it's also as if you feel like you have to call somebody that to put somebody else down to make yourself feel better. Because I wouldn't even feel comfortable saying anybody is ugly, because what if somebody thought I was ugly? And I would find that hurtful. You know what I mean? I just don't, that whole word throws me off. And the fact that the father used it at the wedding, it just seems so superficial. So, you're supposed to be coming into this married at first sight thing with an open mind and saying it's not even about how they look. I'm trying to get to know the person, Maybe that's a conversation he should have had off the camera. But I would also think, what if you do end up falling in love with this person? There's a camera in front of your face. Why would you ever want a record of you saying that about somebody? You know what I mean? But no, it gets worse. Okay. That's the ugly thing. So now he, and remember, I know I'm jumping around, right? So, and Paige is very pretty. She's a very beautiful girl. They both wanted somebody who is highly spiritual, into the church, praise, the whole thing. That's the part that they got right. That's probably the only thing that Married at First Sight, what the experts looked at as far as matching them. Because the thing with Chris also is that Chris was engaged, and the engagement, he met somebody, proposed to her a month later. Then a few months later after that, they broke off the engagement. The breakup of the engagement was about 3 or 4 months before this was aired. This show was filmed. So I'm now questioning Married at First Sight, because I'm like, this is supposed to be a long, drawn out, intense process. Is this process like, did you like look at this whole pool of people within a month and say, and you're supposed to be asking him this question when he sat there in front of you and said, oh, I broke up with my fiance a month or 2 ago. Why didn't you question that? I feel like he should not have even gotten this far in the process. So I just feel, I don't know, this whole guy is throwing me off, everything about him. So now we see they cut off the second episode at the end when she first comes to the end of the aisle, and we see him say, "Oh, bleep," right? Turns on, okay. He comes back, she comes up, and she notices, they're standing in front of each other. She notices that as he's saying his vows, he doesn't even look at her. And she talks to her friends later, and she says that because she noticed right away that there was no connection in between them. And the friends were kind of like, okay, he's nervous. You know what I mean? He never met you before. There's cameras in his face. There's a lot going on. I would give him a pass for that, right? The friends are being very open-minded about this very early, right? So then, they talk to each other outside of the wedding area. And what did he say then? He said something stupid. Did he talk about the honeymoon baby? He's been talking about a honeymoon baby. They both want kids very soon, but he's been talking about a honeymoon baby, and I feel like he brought it up at this time. Now, there was a conversation with her bridesmaids and him, and this was the cringiest part of it all, because he started saying, she's not a trophy wife, but that's a good thing. We have great conversation. The conversation is great, but usually I would date a trophy wife. And so the friends kind of cut him off, like, wait, she is a trophy wife and she's smart. That's not all that she has to offer, but basically she is a beautiful girl. And then he kept saying, well, her body is banging, but however he was alluding to this whole thing, it was that he was not attracted to her face. She was not attractive, but he found her body attractive. And the friends you could tell they picked up on it immediately, because he kept saying the same type of thing over and over and over again. It was just so inappropriate. And the friend said to him, at one point, she is a beautiful girl, this and that. You can tell that they're protective of her. You can tell that they're very skeptical of him, that he made a horrible first impression to them. But what I did like about her friends is that when she spoke to them, they did let on their hesitancy about him. And she let them know as well. But what they didn't do is they didn't bash him, because they're giving her a chance to feel him out for herself. Sometimes if you don't know which way to go when you talk to your friends and they're like, girl, this is what he said. He said A, B, C, and D. You're going to immediately be turned off by it. You're going to be looking for those things that your friends or family members, whoever, told you were the negative things about him. I like that they just kind of said, they're trying to tell her, be careful with him. Look out for this thing, but we're open-minded. Give it a chance, because they don't want to sabotage it 5 minutes into the process. Maybe it was just a bad first impression. Maybe, they did say, his humor is a little bit off, a little inappropriate, it's a little much, but, give it a chance. So I like that her friends are at least trying to let her see it through on her own terms. Now, I want to go back to the bachelor party, bachelorette. This was like that 3-hour episode, so I was kind of in and out. But that is when we first kind of see him being off. That he kept asking questions of the men, and they picked up on it too. He was kind of like, oh, they always ask him to ask, do you plan to have sex on the first night, whatever. But then he just kept asking the questions like, what about a baby? What about this? What about that? And they were already put off by him. So I just feel like everywhere he goes, every group of people, he's just kind of putting everybody off. And everybody can't be wrong about this vibe they're getting from him. Now, Paige goes to talk to his father. And then we find out his father is also a douche, right? Because this is an even cringier conversation, because you're talking to her father. She's trying to meet you. She's there. He's there. She's there with his mother and father. The mother gives great advice. She says, listen, don't rush for anything. You don't want to have kids and you guys aren't ready. Don't rush into that. Just get to know each other, the whole thing. Common sense. The father jumps in, well, I want grandkids, and you need to, my son, he works a long day. When he comes home, he's going to want to feel some affection. He's going to want some intimacy. He's going to want intimacy. And so the mother is kind of trying to like soothe it. You hear on the side really quickly say once in a while. And the father says, no, not once in a while. He needs intimacy often. He needs this often. You got to do it all the time. You got to da-da-da. And he said it so many times. It was so uncomfortable. So you could tell she's uncomfortable. You could tell by her face. I think he and his son have they have horrible skills. They're unable to read the room. Look at her facial expression. Number one, you should not be talking. This is inappropriate for you to talk to somebody you just met about. It's inappropriate for you to talk to your daughter about. Why do you even know what your son needs sexually? That's just weird in itself. Why are you comfortable enough to talk to this woman about it? Why do you feel it's okay for you to tell her what she needs to do with her body? Or what she needs to do to please him? How do you talk to your son about pleasing a woman? The whole thing turned me off to both of them. The whole episode, their whole segment, everything about them two is cringy. I am very skeptical about it. It makes me very uncomfortable. I hope that Paige doesn't get tied up into something she can't get out of. That's probably all I'm going to say about that. We see the coming attraction, and I guess at some point there is a chemistry there, and they start being intimate and the whole thing, and there's a possibility she might be pregnant. I'm hoping not, because something about him really throws me off. You know what? Actually, I'm hoping that he turns. Maybe he's one of those people that are so impulsive and they're so uncomfortable and socially awkward that they don't know what to say to people and they don't know when to stop or how to read the room. Maybe we'll see more of him, more of his actual personality, and maybe he'll kind of flip our opinion of him. I'm hoping so. But for right now, it's like, no. And I'm just screaming for Paige to get out of this. I'm hoping that if he is not into her, he lets her know early and lets her get out of that. I'm hoping that he doesn't screw her over. I'm hoping that there is more of a positive outcome, because she seems like a pure soul, even though she's very spiritual and pure. She also is, like she says, she's also a freak. She want to be a freak in the bed, the whole thing. It seems like they would have been a good match. They're both looking for the same thing. But I'm just hoping that he pulls back on some of his inappropriate statements and inappropriateness altogether. Either way, I probably have way more to say. I just can't remember it right now because I don't have my notes. Usually my notes keep me on track. But let me know what you think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you next week for the Married at First Sight recap and review. Thank you. Reality with T.